Good afternoon. I call to order the meeting of the Metropolitan Council Transportation Committee for November 27, 2023. Our first order of business is approval of the agenda. If there are no changes or additions, we can proceed. Seeing none, we can move on to our next order of business, which is approval of the November 13th, 2023 Transportation Committee meeting minutes. Did anyone have changes or additions? All right. Seeing and hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Vento. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Carter. All those in favor, or any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. And the minutes are adopted. Now we're on to employee recognition. I'll turn it to Metro Transit General Manager Kinderis.
All right, Chair Barber, council members. As you heard at your last Transportation Committee meeting, Metro Transit's had a lot of success this year hiring bus operators, which is in turn allowing us to build back service. But as you can imagine, getting candidates in the door is only a piece of this work. We also have to make sure that the people we're hiring are welcomed and supported from the very start. A lot of the work that's happening to do that happens at our instruction center, where new hires spend the first 5 weeks of training before going on to a garage. Our instruction center has been particularly busy this year, welcoming new classes on a weekly basis and introducing a new paid CDL training program. So today we're very happy to recognize the team that stepped up to handle all this activity. And to introduce our instructors, I'd like to invite Dan Stauffer, Interim Deputy Director for Bus Transportation, to the table to say a few words.
All right, thank you, Leslie and council members. Nice to see everybody. My name is Dan Stauffer. I'm currently in a temporary role acting as the acting Deputy Director of Garage Operations. I oversee South Garage, Nicollet Garage, and also East Metro Garage. I am the former manager of the Instruction Center. I want to say thank you today for recognizing the Department of the Instruction Center, and I assure you that they're well deserving of the award. During the pandemic, everyone at the Instruction Center department was displaced, and the Instruction Center was actually shut down for lack of hiring. Instructors were sent back to be bus operators, and management was put in other roles for growth opportunities. Since then, the Instruction Center has went from shut down to being impacted by aggressive hiring for almost 2 years now. We have new hire classes starting every Monday. Each Monday, the folks that are sitting behind me welcome a new class of bus operators into their building. Along with bus operators, Instruction Center staff also works with bus and rail mechanics, light rail operators, facility maintenance, and other groups who need CDL license upgrades and customer service needs. These folks are currently on a treadmill of training. There is literally a waiting list to get into the Instruction Center. Since the Instruction Center opened back up, everyone at the Instruction Center has stepped up to the challenge. They have hit the ground running and have displayed a sense of teamwork, dedication, and positive energy to help each and every student succeed. To date, Metro Transit has hired 386 students since January 1st, and we still have 5 weeks left. This year will be one of our highest hiring totals of all time. The Instruction Center staff is a dedicated team. They create a foundation for new employees, focusing on safety, good driving habits, resiliency, and customer service skills. They play an important part in a new hire's career for the first 25 days on the property, and then throughout the next 2 years of the apprenticeship program and beyond. Their importance often gets overlooked. They're excellent employees who represent Metro Transit well. They work hard, they have big hearts, and they love to see new hires succeed at their job. Instructors in Javita, thank you for doing what you guys do and being a very important part of Metro Transit. You should all be proud of yourself, as everybody in this room is proud of you. Congratulations.
Thank Thank you, everyone, and we really appreciate it. We're really glad you're busy because that's a great sign. But we're also really happy and really proud of you for rising to the challenge. And I will go over, there's plaques over there. If you guys want to come up, I'll call out your names and you can come on over. All right, Gene Havens. Here you go. Thank you. All right, Keith Severson. Congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Davida Ogama. I was close. Thank you so much. All right, Dorothy Mackey. Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, Stephen Nichols.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks for all you do. Richard Miller. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Jeffrey Thompson. Thank you so much. Congratulations. Glenn Wino. Thank you so much. CJ Camp. Thank you so much. Congratulations. And last but not least, Jonathan Thomas. Thank you. Thanks for all you do. Thank you all. Really, we do appreciate what you've been doing. Thank you. Now we're done with the fun part of our meeting and going to move on to the rest of our stuff. So you know we have a long agenda this evening, but we're going to turn it first to MTS Services Executive Director Carlson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll try to make it fun. As we get into the holiday season, we're beginning to actually unwrap the gifts of the region's construction efforts, seeing construction closures and cones removed and new presents in the form of a restored and improved transportation system. MnDOT is wrapping up its construction season, which saw improvements around the state with 227 projects advanced, including the 3rd Avenue Bridge in Minneapolis and dozens of other projects. I was able in my own Thanksgiving travels to cross the new Ferry Street Bridge in Anoka and see the benefits of that improved crossing of the Highway 10 corridor and really the beginning of many long needed safety improvements on that highway. This morning, a ribbon cutting marked the opening of a brand new Bielenberg Bridge connecting Oakdale and Woodbury across I-94. This is a new multimodal bridge that will open to vehicles, pedestrians, and bicycles this week. And then the bridge will open for Metro Gold Line with BRT dedicated lanes in 2025. The bridge includes $4.4 million of regional solicitation funds in addition to Metro Gold Line project funds that allows it to advance. And this morning, Metropolitan Council, local, state, and federal officials were on hand to celebrate the new bridge, including our own council member, Sue Vento, who's just beginning to warm up, I understand. We have many years of additional investment coming. We're seeing now the construction materializing of, it takes a while to get a project designed and actually into construction. So the added funding from federal bills, the forthcoming funding from state bills, we're seeing that going actually into the ground and beginning to realize the improvements and be able to use them now. And we're thankful for the public's patience in dealing with construction, but we're so thankful for the project managers and planners and engineers and the construction professionals who deliver these improvements to make a better region. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Charles. Questions or comments? council members. All right, thank you. Now we're on to Metro Transit General Manager Kinderis.
Chair Barber, council members, just being mindful of the long agenda, a lot of the work we're doing will cover through some of the business items tonight, but I will mention at your last meeting, we talked about the quarterly service changes, and those are going into effect this Saturday. So we're glad to be able to continue to add back service as operator hiring has been strong this year. And certainly if you have any questions or are hearing from people with questions, we have a plethora of information out there on our website through our Transit Information Center, Customer Relations, and so forth to help people understand the new schedules. So with that, I'd take any questions.
Good, thank you, Leslie. Any questions or comments? All right, and on to our final report. We have our tab report. We have Mr. Dugan here.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon, Madam Vice Chair, Mr. Carlson, Ms. Canderas. And Ms. Dolkar, I serve your district. I serve Dakota County, so lovely to see you. Going to keep it quick in keeping with, and honorable committee members, sorry. And I'm dressed because I'm going to the Viking game, so I apologize in advance. Yes, and we're going to win. Yes, okay.
And we're going to the Super Bowl.
Oh, thank you. I love your indomitable enthusiasm. I love it.
Yeah, my brain is frozen, that's why.
Okay. Last time we were together, we have a big agenda. A lot of the items from TAB are coming up in the agenda. But I just thought I would, as I've been doing, reviewing the TAB and the TAC. The TAB, as you recall, 34 members, all the counties, Minneapolis and St. Paul, metro cities, MPCA, MnDOT, MAC, suburban transit, bicycle, pedestrian, multimodal. The TAC then comes underneath the TAB and is created to give technical assistance to the TAB on matters of not only planning but programming, and really look at it again from the technical, where the rubber meets the road standards. And of course, to that, they're all professional staff from the implementing agencies, and they review all projects of significance and additional studies and programs that are brought up by the standing committees, which I'll get to in a second. The technical staff is the similar membership: Metropolitan Cities, MAC, MnDOT, DEED, MPCA, bicycle transit, pedestrian freight, and the Met Council serves on it as well. The general manager, Ms. Canderas, serves on it, and community development. And of course, this is where it gets really interesting. Each county has an engineer on the TAC, and the city of Minneapolis chief engineer and St. Paul city engineer and transportation director is on that as well. And they serve at the pleasure of their respective organization. There's no set term. However, the chairperson does serve for a period of 2 years and cannot succeed him or herself. They too have established a funding and programming. TAC has established a funding and programming committee whose purpose is to manage the federal transportation funds coming to the MPO, to our Metropolitan Planning Organization. It also does, it evaluates the regional solicitation process, makes recommendations for improvements, and it reviews, and this we'll get into in just a second, scope change and program year extensions. And those have been coming up. And of course, a similar representation is on the funding and programming. Some interesting ones are the FHWA, which is on the TAC, but it's non-voting, suburban transit, DNR, and the Metro District State Aid Office, which keeps everybody on track for spending, as I understand. And then the second committee, I should say, the final, is the Planning Committee, and its main purpose under TAC is to keep the TAB and the TAC abreast of changes in federal law, either new or revised. And it is in charge of the functional classification system of roadways, such as arterial, principal arterial, connector. It also reviews the airport plans and many sundry forecast models that come up from transit to aviation, and it oversees not oversees, but helps in the development of the transportation policy plan, the State Multimodal Transportation Plan, the UPWP, and the Capital Plan. Again, a unique member here is from the Metropolitan Council community staff, and they have technical working groups of bicycle, pedestrian, and transit planning, which serve as a pleasure of them. You will see in tonight's agenda that there are two scope changes that are considered regionally significant. And I'll just review with you very quickly that policy. You have, for scope change, you have administrative, informal, and then more formal, and that's when it's regionally significant. To be regionally significant, it is classified, not, let me step back. The Metropolitan Council, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Carlson, Madam Chair, has additional requirements, but the Code of Federal Regulations, the CFR, establishes what is the minimum to be called a regionally significant. It's something such as a new manufacturing plant is going to add 40 jobs, a new shopping center, or athletic stadium, or cultural hall. And in any event, and also if a major principal arterial is expanded, adding lanes, again, major activity. So you're going to see that, and as I said, it has Metropolitan Council requirements from you folks, and then federal Code of Federal Regulations. Wow, that was a mouthful. Anyway, thank you. Any questions?
Any questions or comments for Mr. Again?
Okay.
Okay, thanks for the overview, Peter.
Okay. I wish we didn't have such a long agenda. I had a few jokes.
Yes, speaking of which, we do have a long agenda tonight, and thank you all for being here. Our first item is our consent agenda. There are 9 items on consent, and without objection, I entertain a motion to approve the items on consent.
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Morales. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Chambliss. Is there any other discussion? Councilmember Dolkar?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I am going to ask this question, and I don't know if anyone can help answer, or I can write this in an email. I am wondering about item number 2023-273, St. Michael Trail. Because it says carbon reduction program, I'm wondering if somebody could elaborate on what that means.
I believe.
For information purposes only, like what does that mean? How does that relate?
Director Carlson?
Okay.
Madam Chair and committee members, so the City of St. Michael was awarded carbon reduction program funds. This is a federal source of funds oriented toward carbon reduction, being outside the 7-county region, but inside the urbanized area. This item needs to be on our transportation improvement program in order to proceed to recognize those federal funds. But those funds were selected for this project through a separate process that is administered outside of the Met Council.
Okay. Could I?
Councilmember Dolkar?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Charles. Is the trail trail on the road, or is it a trail in the park system? Do you know?
Madam Chair, council member, I believe it's a trail adjacent to the roadway along CASA 35.
That's really helpful to know. It's the first time I've seen this language show up. Thank you.
Right. Is there any other discussion? Seeing and hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. And the items on consent are adopted. We're on to our non-consent business. The business item 2023-223 is the Metro Green Line Extension Amendment 3 to Cooperative Construction Agreement with St. Louis Park Economic Development Authority. We have Jim Alexander here to present.
All right, thank you, Madam Chair. Jim Alexander, Project Director for the Green Line Extension. So this, if you recall, back in February, we had a business item related to this park and ride at Beltline Station in St. Louis Park related to an operation agreement. This item tonight, we'll talk to an amendment to an agreement we have with the EDA, the Economic Development Authority with St. Louis Park, for a park and ride ramp for the project. So we, in our program, we have 268 stalls programmed for Beltline Station. We were originally going to have that as a surface lot, and we made an arrangement with the city to put this into a structure, which is kind of the ultimate goal the city had for this block just north of the station. So we originally had 2.5 million in that agreement to go to that 268 stalls. That's in 2017 dollars. Tonight, we're looking to add money to that to account for escalation to the amount of about 3.5 million. And just a little background on the cooperative construction agreement. It does require the EDA to build this as part of their parking ramp. If this doesn't if this isn't realized, that the EDA has the responsibility of building a 268 stall surface parking lot. And you can see here that in terms of what the council has design authority of the transit elements, and EDA has responsibility for construction oversight, but we have, the council has authority to inspect and correct anything that relates to the transit elements of the parking ramp. And have an image of what this block ultimately looks like. You can see in the lower right there where the station is, and the train would park right next to the station platform. That the trail bridge is in place now. It goes across the freight and the LRT tracks. And so in the block itself, the parking stall, the parking ramp there, about 570 stalls in the lower southwest corner there is where the 268 stalls will be part of that. Ultimately, this block looks to be built out with housing and commercial development. So with that, Madam Chair, I propose that the council consider authorizing the regional administrator to negotiate and execute amendment number 3 to the cooperative construction agreement with the City of St. Louis Parks, EDA, for the construction of a parking structure ramp at the Metro Green Line Extension Beltline Station, to increase the amount of the agreement by $984,167 to a total amount of $3,484,167 to account for escalation. And I would note this is contingent upon the award of the ramp construction contract, which is currently out to bid right now.
Okay, thank you, Jim. Questions or comments from council members? Councilmember Dokar.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Jim. Jim, I'm wondering, does the council have electric charging policy currently in place for when we build parking lots?
In terms of charging for parking, yeah, Madam Chair, Transportation Committee members, current policy is not to charge for parking.
No, I meant electric charging.
Oh,
Like
electric charging.
Yeah, dedicated space for electric vehicles.
You know, I would have to investigate on this particular structure what is programmed. I don't have that with me, but I could follow up with you.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Additional questions for Councilmember Chambliss?
Thanks. I'm just wondering if there's an ability to do cost sharing with the EDA versus having the Met Council absorb the increase in the conversion from the surface to the parking garage.
Madam Chair, council members, there is cost sharing here. I don't have all those figures, but this is just a contribution to the overall structure. So for the 268 stalls, that's what we'd be paying for. The EDA and their developer is going to be responsible for the rest of that ramp. The overall cost of this structure is going to be probably, I'm estimating, it depends on what the bids come in, around 15 million.
Okay.
Additional questions or comments? All right, seeing and hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to approve business item 2023-223.
Make a motion.
Moved by Councilmember Carter. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Vento. Is there any other discussion? Seeing and hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. And the motion carries. And because we have so many business items, and we're going to decide consent and non-consent along the way, so make it easy on Becky. If we're in agreement, I think that one can go on consent to the full council. Okay, very good. All right, now we're on to business item 2023-281, which is the Metro Green Line Extension Aldridge Parsons Joint Venture Part 1 Claims Resolution Change Order. Back to Jim.
All right, thank you, Madam Chair. So this relates to Aldrich Parsons Joint Venture, our systems contractor on the Green Line Extension project. And so this item has two components. First is the seek authorization for a $5.2 million claims resolution change order for an extension of time to the contract. It also seeks authorization to increase the cumulative authority, change order authority by the same amount, 5.2 million. And the reason why we're bringing this to the council is the council's approval is required for change orders over 2.5 million, and council approval is also required for cumulative change orders authority that goes greater than 10%. You may recall that we had an item back in August, which we had initial part one for this extension of time. And so this is a second part one. And I'll advise that we'll be back for more with maybe additional part ones or maybe a final part two for this overall change order. So this relates to the extension of time that is put upon the systems contractor because of delays to the civil construction that occurred through 2021. There was a 34 and a half months that were added to that civil contract. And as part of the extension of time, the contractor had identified an overall cap of 64 million that they saw that this could be worth in terms of the cost to them for the extension of time. And that relates to extended performance. It relates to labor and escalation costs and associated subcontractor costs with that. So the amount of the initial part one was to the tune of 20.4 million that the council did approve back in August, and that has been executed since. So this part one change order, the second part one relates to really finalizing the costs of the prime contractor component of this with Aldrich and Parsons. And so we still have to negotiate the subcontractor piece, but with a total of 25.6 million, again, compared to that 64 million, we'll feel like we'll be very well under that cap, but we still need to get the subcontractor component resolved. And I anticipate that coming probably in the first quarter, hopefully in the first quarter of next year. It depends on how the data is coming through. You may recall that we had established an alternative disputes resolution process where we have our expert consultants, we have outside legal counsel, Venable, and a cost accountant or construction cost accountant and a construction claims consultant helping us with these evaluations of the cost the contractor is submitting. And so we look to resolve things at the business table, and so far we've been fortunate in being able to do that. But if it doesn't, we can't manage the business table, we'll take it to mediation. If mediation doesn't come to a mutual understanding of what the number should be, we would go to binding arbitration. So we're requesting that we have authority to execute this $5.2 million change order along with an associated cumulative change order authority increase of 5.2. This allows us with flexibility to continue with our change order process in resolving these issues. So with that, Madam Chair, I will stand for any questions.
Thank you. Any questions or comments?
Just a
Councilmember
comment.
Chambliss, and then I'll go to you, Councilmember Carter.
Yeah, I just have a question about forecasting the increases and how much flexibility we have in terms of authorization percentages so that we can avoid having to go into arbitration. How do we feel about that? Have we had those kind of discussions?
Well, in terms of, Madam Chair, members, I think to avoid arbitration, so far we've been very fortunate to be able to resolve things at the business table. The fact that we have resolved now the Aldrich and Parsons piece is pretty big, because I personally anticipated we would have gone to mediation on some of those components, but we're making good headway. We still have about 18 or 19 subcontractors we need to do negotiation with, so time will tell how that goes. I feel confident that we will be under that 64 million ultimately, but I can't promise that we'll avoid mediation or arbitration at this juncture. But we'll have to see how that rolls.
Councilmember Chambliss.
Yeah, I was just asking because I know we're keeping a close eye on that because that's where the cost can go a lot higher if we can avoid that that would obviously be the best option.
Okay, Councilmember Carter.
Yeah, I just wanted to say I appreciate the fact that we exceeded the DBE goal of 12%, and we got up to 16.93% so far. Say thank you.
Yeah. Yes, the contractor's been doing good work in that regard. I also want to point out just a couple of things that on the business item that was posted last week, if you go to the table on page 2, we have updated that number. It was formerly 9.8 million in the amount column at the bottom. It is actually 14.96 in the actual number. We had to update that, and the percentage was 16.4, and we've updated that to 7.7%.
Good. Additional questions or comments? All right, so for those who are listening, the proposed action is that the Metropolitan Council authorize the regional administrator as part of the system schedule cost claims resolution process to negotiate and execute a Part 1 change order for contract 17P000 with Aldred Parsons, a joint venture, in an amount not to exceed $5,232,043. Authorize an additional 2.69% to the current 27.97% cumulative change authority for contract 17P000 with APJV, resulting in 30.66% total cumulative change order authority. With that, if there's no further questions, I'd entertain a motion to approve business item 2023-281.
Motion to approve.
Moved by Councilmember Chambliss. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Carter. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay, and the motion carries. And we will move that one non-consent to the full council if everyone's in agreement. All right, next we're on business item 2023-226, Blue Line Lake Street Midtown Station renovation design contract. We've got Christina Morrison here to present. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm Christina Morrison. I'm a principal project coordinator in Metro Transit's Engineering and Facilities Department, and here to talk about Blue Line Lake Street. So we have had a project in planning here over the last couple of years. This is a very high-use station in South Minneapolis, and Blue Line is approaching 20 years in service, so it sees a lot of foot traffic. Combined with, we've had sort of an increase in this at the station of repairs, replacement, and damage and vandalism over the past few years. So all of that sort of builds towards a major renovation. The scope of the project includes the both the north and south lobbies, so on either side of Lake Street, as well as the stairs, escalators, elevators are all part of that vertical circulation. We're also, within our scope, is the all of the amenities on the platform, including the canopy and the shelters, and all of the sort of systems like lighting, technology, cameras, things like that. Notably, MnDOT is doing a full street reconstruction in this area below and around the station, starting in spring of 2024. That includes the Metro B Line westbound station. So you'll see that construction start just in a few months here, actually. But that work is being led by MnDOT in close coordination with Metro Transit, the city, and Hennepin County. So the purpose and need of this renovation was really informed by quite a bit of customer feedback, as well as internal staff feedback on the bus and rail side, and things like maintenance work orders and police calls. And we came up with 3 sort of groups of things that we want to accomplish here. One is really to improve accessibility at a grade separated station. We have sort of constant challenges with reliability in the circulation here. The second being improving the overall customer experience, so creating a really seamless and easy sort of station to use transit from. That includes everything from safety and security to lighting, wayfinding, making sure people are comfortable when they're waiting on the platform. And then lastly, really a focus on making this easier to maintain. So we've learned a lot about metro station operations in the last 20 years, and we think we can improve the durability of materials and really make it functional for kind of our back of house spaces for our employees, where this is their work site that they go to every day. So the proposed action today is to award and execute a contract with Formula for design and construction services, not to exceed $3,471,311. Many of you probably have heard of Formula before. They're a local DBE that's nationally acclaimed. This contract had a 12% DBE goal. However, they have come in with a 48% commitment. There are multiple DBEs on this contract proposal. And Metro Transit and Formula have worked together quite a bit before. So Formula has been a subconsultant on the Green Line architecture as well as the Orange Line stations. And they've also led some smaller facilities projects. So we're really seeing them step into this lead role for a much bigger project. And then lastly, timeline for this design would be sort of over the next year in 2024, with construction really ramping up in 2025, heavy construction planned in 2026 to coordinate with some of our other rail projects. And that's what I have. Happy to take questions.
All right, thanks, Christina. Any questions or comments? Councilmember Chambliss.
You just looked at this way first, right? Because I keep coming up with questions.
I had a hunch.
Okay, well, thank you for that presentation. I'm glad that we have more durable materials. Can you talk about how much easier the maintenance is gonna be if there are maintenance needs, or if you need to do repair, servicing, or fixing from vandalism? And then secondly, can you talk about how we're going to improve the safety in terms of, I know you talked about lighting and some of the other design features. Can you get a little bit more in depth about like personnel increases at that location as well?
Yes, Chair, council members. So on the ease of repair front, we're looking at some of the design choices that were originally made. Things like the existing station has a lot of glass. It has a lot of non-standard glass, and it's everywhere. And so it creates sort of even the framing systems for that create ledges that collect dirt and debris, things like that. So we're being really intentional about, for example, we want to expand the canopy up top to provide more coverage, better coverage for transit passengers, but removing that sort of those glass bus shelters up on the platform. So thinking about how you can reduce the amount of things that can break and need to be replaced on a regular basis. And then other things that are just sort of more part of the kit that we build stations with now. Things like access to water for power washing, access to sinks, like the industrial slop sinks, more back of house facilities, so janitorial closets and room to store paint cans and things like that. So just thinking more about the operational side as we create sort of that space within the station for them to use. The other item you mentioned was safety and thinking about personnel. Certainly, I think we spend quite a bit of resources out there today between, we have facilities workers out there many hours a day. We have police that are in that area. We have the supplemental security that's at the station as well. So there certainly is a lot of resources out there. I think one thing we want to do is provide better spaces for them. You know, for example, having a staff-only bathroom is something that we've put in at some of our newer stations. Having just a touchdown space, things like that, to be able to let them do their job better and actually stay on the premises longer instead of having to go to another site for kind of simple functions.
Thank you.
Councilmember Chambliss.
So I have a question. It's kind of hard to see what the difference is because I'm looking at the current design instead of the future design. Is it going to be this? Are you going to be able to see inside that structure from the outside, or is it going to be like cement and you won't be able to see from the outside, or what is that going to look like?
Yeah, sure. Barbara, council members, we are looking at potentially kind of a permeable, like a metal perforated panel on the outside that would help protect a bit from wind, also reduce breakage, have a more durable material, but it would provide some visibility in and out of the station. And I think things like enhanced lighting systems and better camera systems can also help us provide that visibility in different ways. Sort of today we have a lot of obstructions on the platform, and we've heard that from our rail control center to our facilities workers, that just creates not even very good sightlines for people that are on the platform today.
Awesome, thank you.
Oh, great. Any additional questions or comments? All right, just a couple of quick comments. This is great. I think it's definitely something that where we've seen that there's great opportunity to improve accessibility and the customer experience. And I'm really glad that's sort of first and foremost as you're talking about this, because I think this is one of our key places in our transit system. Also, just want to herald a little bit the good news story about the DBE. This is a DBE that came to us and worked in different projects as a sub and got experience, learned how to do this, and now is leading a very big project. And I think it's very exciting to see. So if there's no additional questions or comments, then I'd entertain a motion to approve business item 2023-226.
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Morales. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Carter. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you, Christina. All right, that one I think can go likely non-consent to the full council. You get to hear me talk a lot, but we're trying to limit a reasonable amount. All right, business item 2023-259 is the LRV coupler overhaul, and we had Ryan McTeague here to present.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Ryan McTeague. I'm the Director of Light Rail Vehicle Maintenance at Metro Transit. And with me is Mike Rude, who is the manager of our overall services division. We are here today to present business item 2023-259 and seek to have the Metropolitan Council authorize the regional administrator to award and execute a sole source contract 23P 150 for the overhaul of our Type 2 fleet couplers in an amount not to exceed $2.8 million. The couplers on our Type 2 vehicles are approaching the recommended mileage and years of service for their midlife overhaul to maintain them in a state of good repair. These couplers are a safety critical component. They allow for the physical connection of, as well as the electrical communication of the subsystems between the vehicles. All of the costs would be funded from our current council-approved overhaul budget under Project 65703. With that, I can see we have a quick slide here. So for those who may not be familiar, if we can click to the next slide. So if you're not familiar with what a coupler is, the automatic coupler is the component that's located at each end of the vehicle. And this joins the vehicles together both mechanically and electrically. It allows us to physically connect the vehicles together while also providing the electrical communication systems between the vehicles. And this is what's needed for our normal operation of multiple vehicle consists. With that, we're happy to take any questions you might have.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from council members? Councilmember Vento.
Just have a comment, a really weak attempt at humor. I first looked at this, I thought, gee, Met Transit's got a dating service program we've never heard about.
She couldn't resist.
Better than mine.
That's fine. All right, any additional questions or comments?
Any that make any sense?
It made me chuckle, now I'm stumbling over my words.
Better than my jokes.
All right, the proposed action for those who are listening is that the Metropolitan Council authorize the regional administrator to negotiate and execute sole source contract 23P 150 with Delner Incorporated for overhaul services of the couplers on the Type 2 light rail vehicles in an amount not to exceed $2.8 million. And if there are no additional questions, I'd entertain a motion to approve business item 2023-259.
So moved.
Moved by
Second.
Councilmember Vento and seconded by Councilmember Morales. Is there any other discussion? Seeing and hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay, and the motion carries. Thank you,
Thank you for your
gentlemen.
time.
All right, next we're on, that we can go consent to the full council. Business item 2023-282 is the Metro Transit Bus Fuel Supply Contract, and we have Anthony Zessman here to present. Welcome.
Hello. Councilmember Barber, or Chair Barber, and council members. My name is Anthony Zessman. I am an Assistant Director with Bus Maintenance Administration. Today, we are proposing that the Met Council authorizes the Regional Administrator to award and execute contract 23P158 with Mansfield Energy to provide diesel fuel supply and delivery to all bus maintenance garages in an amount not to exceed $92,567,450.50. The Metro Transit fleet of active and reserve buses require a consistent fuel supply and blends depending on the time of year to support a reliable fleet and service. An invitation for bids was advertised on August 21st, 2023. A pre-bid meeting was hosted by council staff in which solicitation requirements and project specifications were reviewed. The contract term is for 3 years with an optional year 4 and 5. Procurement facilitated the public bid opening on September 28, 2023, and received 4 bids ranging from $92.5 to $96.3 million, with Mansfield Energy being the lowest responsive bidder. Actual expenditures will be determined by the Oil Price Information Service, OPIS, price index for diesel fuel, which will fluctuate daily over the term of the contract to reflect petroleum market prices. This contract will advance the Thrive outcomes of livability and prosperity by maintaining fleet vehicles to provide safe, reliable transportation, making the region more economically competitive through increased workers, access to employment, and support to employers by increasing available workforce and with affordable, convenient transportation. Funds will be budgeted for the purchase and delivery of diesel fuel in Metro Transit's council-authorized operating budget. The Office of Equity and Equal Opportunity thoroughly reviewed this procurement for Metropolitan Council's underutilized business opportunities in accordance with federal and state laws and regulations, as well as the contract specifications. Upon conclusion of OEEO's research and analysis, no MCO goal was set. And with that, I will answer any questions.
Very good, thank you very much. Any questions or comments, council members? All right, seeing none, then I would entertain a motion to approve business item 2023-282.
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Morales. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Chambliss. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you, Anthony.
Thank you.
All right, next we are on to business item 2023-284, which is the Metro, that last one can go consent. 2023-284, Metro Transit Code of Conduct, and Pam Steffen.
Good afternoon, Council Chair Barber, council members. I'm super excited to be here about this fun topic. So this is business item 2023-284, and what we're giving you a preview today to forward this on to the Metropolitan Council December 13th meeting for approval of our code of conduct. So as many of you probably know, that Metro Transit does have a code of conduct currently. It has been some time since we refreshed this code of conduct. We started that work actually last October in 2022, where we worked there's really 4 phases of the work that we've been doing, which is discovery, approach, design, and implementation. So the slide here just shows kind of a number of code of conduct things that we currently have, and then it also shows some signage that we have on inside our buses and trains. The new code of conduct that we're looking for adoption actually not only applies to Metro Transit, but also applies to our contracted routes, along with microtransit, Metro Mobility, and a few others. So the first phase of how we worked through this over the last year is to really look at what our peer agencies are doing around, not only the US, but also like in Canada and such. So we looked at that to see, is there any differences that they have in what they're doing versus what we have? And there really wasn't much difference. All the things were mostly similar. So we did that just to make sure that we did our due diligence, did our research, and if there is anything on there that we didn't already have. So the next thing was to look at our existing code of conduct and where we have everything posted, for example, inside our trains, at transit stations, look at all the signage, everything we have, to really do a good inventory of our existing code of conduct. So one of the reasons why we're here today is that in the 2023 legislation, the legislatures asked that we adopt a rider code of conduct and then post that adopted code of conduct at our light rail stations, bus rapid transit stations, and transit centers. The second item here is that the code of conduct must not prohibit sleeping in any manner that does not otherwise violate conduct requirements. And then the last thing here is prior to adoption of the code of conduct, they really asked us to do our due diligence in asking customers what they wanted to see in the code of conduct. So the next phase of this project was kind of our approach and related to really reaching out to our customers, not only our external customers, but our internal customers. We did a significant amount of stakeholder engagement related to our employees, where we were at a couple different Saturday bus operator mentor workshops, and they were provided a list of our existing code of conduct, and we asked them to rate the code of conduct either high, medium, or low. Like, how important was it to them and how not important was it to them? What do they really want to see on the signage? So we did that, and then we went from there to visit all facilities, visited with Transit Police, the Transit Safety and Security Committee, Equity Advisory Committee in July, and then recently the Committee of the Whole on November 1st. We did internal surveys where we got 432 responses. And then this is kind of the demographics of those employee responses, where you can see a majority of those responses came from our bus operators, a smaller portion from rail operators, facility maintenance, transit police, office employees who ride our service, and then maintenance employees as well, along with management staff. And then we move to external outreach, so customer surveys. So last June and July, on what we call internally the Great Day in Transit, we outreached to more than 2,000 people. Either it was on Great Day of Transit that day in person, or we connected with people via our newsletters, talked to Metro Mobility customers, did a bunch of social media, and received over 2,000 responses, and about 300 employees were engaged in making sure that the survey got out and we had enough responses to really get what we needed. The really interesting, fun part about this survey is that we were able to figure out the type of demographics that we reached. For example, all of the in-person surveys that we did, like on platforms and on the trains, on buses, the demographics revealed that those folks were kind of our lower income. And then the social media that we did to ask people to complete the survey, they're more of a higher income of our riders. So we really feel like we got what we needed from a big variety of our customers when we did this outreach. So you're probably asking, okay, Pam, let's see what the new code of conduct is. What are you proposing here? So while there is a code of conduct, there's kind of rules, policy-related things, but there's also illegal things that are in state statute. So what you're seeing here on this first slide is actually what we are proposing as our code of conduct. The next slide actually talks about the illegal items that are already not appropriate for riding transit. So what we are asking for of our riders is to pay your fare. One fare, one seat. Wear clothes, tops, bottoms, shoes would be helpful. Animals must be in a carrier, with the exception, of course, being a service animal. Not allowed, which we didn't actually have on our previous code of conduct, is sexual and discriminatory harassment. So that is new for our code of conduct. Phone calls, music, don't play them on a speaker. Profanity, vulgar language, no eating, soliciting. Prohibited items. There is a tiny little mistake here, but it's not in the business item, where it lists out hoverboards, lithium cells, or batteries. Those three things are not listed in the business item, and they shouldn't be listed on this slide here, so I just wanted to make that clear. Gas-powered scooters, car, and motorcycle batteries, along with just gasoline and gasoline containers. Also, large items that block the aisle. We do have on occasion people bringing on board large chairs. We've had mattresses, snow blowers, you name it, grocery carts, whatever it is. Those things are just too large for our buses and trains. Riding bikes, skating, and skateboarding, at a bus stop or on a rail station and platform, it's, for safety reasons. So these are the things that we're really looking to see adopted as far as our code of conduct. And then this next slide is already existing illegal behavior of things that you just shouldn't be doing on our trains. So this illegal behavior, along with the code of conduct on the previous slide, these things may very well get you removed from our trains or buses if they are violated. So while you may be wondering, some of these descriptions are very short and they may need more explanation to our riders, we will have more communication on our website and printed materials that will further explain out, what these things are. But for these purposes, it's kind of just a list out that you might have on a sign. But there'll be more added information clarifying these things depending on what kind of print there is. And then also written in plain language and potentially translated into other languages. As far as enforcement, what we want the council to know is that any code of conduct or illegal violations, you may be removed from transit. We want to make that very clear that our police officers will be doing that. So transit police, they are authorized to remove customers or citation or trespass or arrest, whereas CSOs, trip agents, supplemental security, other authorized staff, they can tell a customer if they see them violating a code of conduct, hey, you need to stop that or you're going to be asked to leave. If the person doesn't stop it, they may very well contact transit police and ask to have them removed. All right, tentative timelines. So coming Q1 next year, we have a marketing and communications plan where we are looking to redo all of our signage, website, digital, audio, everything that currently has our code of conduct and then more. to communicate it, and then to our employees, doing some internal in-reach, newsletters, staff meetings, and on-site in-reach. And that completes the presentation.
Thank you, Pam. Are there questions or comments? We want to start. Councilmember Dokar?
Thank you, Madam Chair. On the slide that you had related to social media, and you said the engagement from social media were from higher income, and I think in-person may have been lower income. Did you collect income data when you were asking questions?
Yes.
Demographic, full?
Yep.
Do we have a sense of the breakdown on racial equity and age?
Yes, we do, and I don't have it on the top of my hands, but I can
But you do.
definitely get it
Okay.
to you.
Thank you.
Yeah, great question. Thank you for that.
Councilmember Vento?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Pam, this is terrific. You gave a great presentation at Committee of the Whole, and this has been very beneficial. And I would like to make one suggestion when it gets to the signage and the website and all of the tools that we're going to, and information we're going to provide people. And that's how encouraging riders to report if they see code of conduct violations or violations of the law. I've mentioned before that I have a brother who has been a regular Blue Line rider, and he has he fairly recently reported an incident and was impressed by the reporting process and the promptness with which Metro Transit Police responded and dealt with the situation. It wasn't a criminal situation, but it was a situation that was making riders very, very nervous. And I think having that information included with the signage and the websites and everything else just makes really good sense. And it helps us realize that we're as riders who are following the rules, we're also responsible for helping keep the system safe. So if you could do that, that would be great. And to the extent that it's easy, that would be great too, because whenever we see something that rattles us, it can sometimes get hard to follow through on reporting. Thanks.
Okay. Additional questions or comments? Councilmember Dokar?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Will some of the signage be in Braille?
Chair Barber, council members, that is a great question, and we have not talked about that yet.
At least the phone number, or like something I can touch,
Okay.
accessibility is a huge issue.
Thank you for that.
Additional questions or comments?
If I could, Madam Chair, just a quick note that of appreciation for Metro Transit staff who actually collaborated with MTS staff in updating code of conduct. And I think we're able to provide sort of one set of expectations for customers across the whole family of service offerings that the council has, and are very appreciative of involvement. And I'm glad that some of our program managers are actually here tonight to hear some of this discussion and suggestions as well. So just a quick thank you to Metro Transit.
Very good. Additional questions? Councilmember Dokar?
Sorry, I was gonna clap.
You can clap. You can clap, it's all right. Yeah. And I will just add on, I couldn't agree with that more. I think that's one of the things that really we have as an asset as sort of some of the planning work, working along with the operations to come up with something holistic that works across everything we're doing, which is probably unique than you'll find in other regions. I think first a comment and then a question. I think as we advance out of this, because I think this is such a very important step. We've had a code of conduct, but clearly it hasn't been out there, and I would love to hear as we're evolving over the next couple of months, kind of the marketing plan, how we're going to train people, how we're going to track things. Be kind of the things I'd like to hear back on in the future, just to know how it's being implemented. And then I had a question, and this sort of ties to the batteries question, but do we have anything about e-bikes?
Councilmember Barber, council members, what a great question. I don't know who's behind me, but Brian, there he is.
Way behind.
Brian and I and Ryan and maybe not Ryan, a bunch of people talked about e-bikes, and we actually have posted on our website a new e-bike policy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Oh, gosh. So generally, what it boils down to, and I can certainly send you guys a link to what that new policy is that we do allow e-bikes on the front of our buses. However, they really need to be under 75 pounds. Is that right?
55.
Oh, 55. I got it wrong. See, that's why Brian's here. So yeah, we recently did that within the past couple months.
And so, yeah, just to add, Chair Barber and council members, in addition to that, we're also testing a new style of bike rack that allows for wider tires, commonly known as fat bikes, that are popular here, especially with the coming winter season. So getting some feedback from that on a couple of buses. They have a higher threshold as well, 75 pounds. That's what Pam was thinking of, per bike slot on those. But yeah, getting good feedback so far.
Very good to hear. All right, any additional questions or comments? All right, it's a very exciting one, I think, here. So I then entertain a motion to approve business item 2023-284.
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Vento, is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Morales. Is there any other discussion? Seeing and hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay, and the motion carries. Thank you so much, Pam. And that one will go non-consent to the full council. Next, we're on to business item 2023-263, which is the Metro Move program. And we have Sheila Holbrook-White back to present.
Good evening, Chair Barber and council members. On November 13th, I provided you all with a pretty extended overview of the Metro Move program, which is focused on people with disabilities receiving home and community-based service waivers, and it offers them new opportunities to connect to employment, to day support programming, and other community resources. This is a service that will be part of the state's forecasted budget in 2025. And will allow the council to draw down new federal funds to better support the disability community. On July 14th, the council released an RFP to secure a contractor to provide Metro Move service for a 5-year term. Prior to its release, the Office of Equity and Equal Opportunity, or OEEO, assigned a 1% disadvantaged business enterprise goal. The council convened a pre-proposal meeting on August 1st. On September 28, the council received 3 completed proposals. On October 18, the approved evaluation panel, which comprised of 3 members of MTS staff, an external stakeholder from Hennepin County, Human Services and Public Health Department, and 1 from the Minnesota Council on Disability, met and reached consensus on a recommended contractor. In early November, OEEO determined that the recommended contractor met the DBE requirement that was set in the RFP. As described in the RFP and is consistent with the terms of the contract, the council may adjust service during the 5-year period using pre-established contract rates at various thresholds surrounding the projected service hours identified in the agreement. While the value of the projected service hours is approximately $111,992,710, the contract allows for a 20% increase in revenue hours over base for a total maximum contract value not to exceed $131,532,600. MTS is requesting that the council authorize the regional administrator to negotiate and execute contract 23P011 with First Transit, a subsidiary of Transdev, to provide Metro Move services in an amount not to exceed $131,532,600. Chair Barber and council members, I stand for any questions you may have.
Thank you, Sheila. Are there questions or comments? All right, we just wanted to make a very quick comment. As we noted last time, this is a kind of breakthrough kind of program and something other places in the country are really looking to us for what we've done and how we've set it up. And so really want to commend Sheila and her staff and people who've worked on this because it's really quite a big deal. And even going back to my many years ago serving on the Metro Mobility Task Force, it was like, how are we going to do anything like this? And to see solutions coming out is really kind of very full circle. So
This has truly been building on the shoulders of giants, and you're one of them, along with Jerry Sutton and others. And it's a real pleasure to bring this motion to you. We're going to move this forward.
Very exciting. With that, I would entertain a motion to approve business item 2023-263.
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Morales. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Carter. Is there any other discussion? Seeing and hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you. And that one will also go non-consent to the full council. All right, we have two business items coming up now that are connected somewhat. It's business item 2023-257 and 2023-275. So the first one is the Transportation Policy Plan Public Comment Report and Final Amendment to Adoption. And we have Joe Barbeau and Dave Burns here to present.
Great. Good afternoon or evening, council members. My name is David Burns, Planning Analyst with MTS Planning. I'm going to be talking briefly about the TPP amendment and then hand it over to my colleague Joe Barbeau, who will be speaking on the TIP amendment. So our 2040 TPP includes what we call a fiscally constrained list of major projects for investment in the region by 2040, and we call that the current revenue scenario. Projects that add new lanes to a principal arterial highway or an interchange are considered regionally significant, and they must be identified as funded in the TPP to be included in the TIP and to begin construction. So this amendment adds 5 regionally significant highway projects to the 2040 TPP. As you can see there, all are fully funded. This was brought to this body here on August 28th and recommended for release for public comments by the council on September 11th. We did have a 45-day public comment period from September 13th to October 31st, and a public hearing actually before this body on October 9th. So overall, we had 26 public comments that we received and included in attachment 1, which is your public comment report. 21 were supportive, 16 were supportive of the I-94 Albertville to Monticello Lane addition, 2 for the US 169 CASA 59 interchange, 1 for the 65th and 117th Avenue interchange in Blaine, and 2 for the Minnesota 13 grade separation in Burnsville and Savage. We also did have 5 comments just generally expressing opposition, and these were mainly focused on opposition to expansion of roadway facilities in general, and kind of the role of expansion in contributing to induced demand. So our proposed action here is a recommendation that the council accept the 2040 Transportation Policy Plan Amendment 2 Public Comment Reports and adopt Amendment 2 to the 2040 TPP, adding the 5 regionally significant highway projects. And with that, I am happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments? Seeing here none, we can probably go ahead and take action on this one because technically we have to take action on the TPP one before we take action on the TIP one. So with that, I'd entertain a motion to approve business item 2023-257.
Motion to approve?
Moved by Councilmember Chambliss. Is there a second? Seconded by Councilmember Morales. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. And on to you, Joe.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening. As Dave Burns mentioned, my name is Joe Barbeau. I also am a planning analyst at MTS. And while Dave does handle the TPP amendments, I tend to handle the TIP amendments. So there's a lot of overlap here, but there's also some differences that I'll try to explain. It's hard to see, but I did gray out 3 of the 5 projects that he just talked about for the TIP amendment. And so you'll see that 2 of the projects are part of this TIP amendment request. One of them is I-94 Albertville to Monticello Lane Addition, and the other is the interchange in Scott County. The reason that you only see 2 of the 5 is for 2 reasons. First, The two projects that we're highlighting here are on a pretty quick timetable following putting them into the TPP. And so it makes sense to get them into the TIP as soon as possible. The other three projects, one of them, I believe it's the Highway 13 project. You'll see that probably in a few months. It's not quite ready for the TIP yet. Just because a project was put in the TPP doesn't mean we know the exact scope and the exact funding and the exact sources of all the funds. And the other two projects are later than 2024, so you'll more likely see them as part of the TIP a year from now that you'll be looking at. So that's why you see only two of the projects. Like the TPP, we have a public comment period for this action. We kind of had a funny situation in that we were waiting on the USDOT to approve the TIP, so we kind of had to wait on some of the TIP actions. So we didn't have as much overlap to this public comment period as we normally would when projects need to go into both of them. We had to stagger it a little bit later. It's a different process anyway in that there's only a 21-day public comment period. It's also different in that TAB releases the public comment, the TIP amendment request for public comment, and then reviews it. So, but we do include the public comment report that TAB looked at. And similarly we had similar comments to the TPP, but not identical. We had 24 public comments received. Only 10 were directly supportive. All the supportive comments mentioned the project in the highway widening project on I-94. Three comments, I should say, specifically mentioned the Scott County interchange project. We had 13 that expressed opposition. Again, all of those mentioned the I-94 widening, and 3 mentioned Scott County. Then we had a comment that was unrelated content. Sometimes we get people that see a comment period and want to make a general comment on transportation, and that happened in one of these cases. So again, that's just a summary of the comments that was already accepted by MnDOT. And then your requested action here would be that the council adopt this TIP amendment to add these two projects, lane additions on I-94 from Albertville to Monticello, and new interchanges at 169 and CASA 59 in Scott County. You may notice Wright County. For those that might not know, that is part of our TIP planning, our MPO planning area, extends out into small pieces of Wright and Sherburne County as a result of the 2010 census, causing our urban area to reach a little bit out of our 7-county area. With that, I'd stand for questions.
Very good. Any questions or comments from council members? All right. Councilmember Vento.
I really appreciate the presentation and the explanation around the comments and such. And serving on the Met Council's internal working group on climate, I have empathy with the folks who are frustrated about expanding, particularly 94. I started college 51 years ago west of St. Cloud, and in those days, if you were going to go from southern Minnesota to western Stearns County, you took Highway 10 through St. Cloud. And I vaguely remember when I-94 came to be, but it's amazing for people my age to look back on the kinds of changes that have occurred transportation-wise. And it's frustrating, I'm sure, for the environmentalists, and I'd like to consider myself one of them, who just kind of bristle at the thought of expanding highways. When I first started on the council, I had a mayor in one of my communities in that former district who, when we met, told me that the only thing he wanted was 6-lane highways up north. And I didn't react. I kept my response in check, and we ended up working well together. But we've got a lot of folks who are kind of frustrated about this expansion, and it's hard for them to justify the money we spend on mass transit and then massive highway and freeway systems. So we're walking a fine line.
And I'll respond to that, just because I think that is, even if you hear the conversations we have, that is some of the conversations we have. But I think we have to be holistic in how we look at it, and there's a big talk, especially in the regional solicitation, about safety and things like that, because some of the might fall in an expansion category, but it's actually addressing the safety concern. So this 169 project is in my district, and it's a safety concern.
Yes.
And so is the Highway 13 one. And plus, that has to do with all the trucks going in and out of the ports of Savage, which is one of the largest food ports in the country. So it's sort of, it's trying to figure out, but it's figuring out how do we talk about it to wrestle with the issues the right way. And that'll be a big part of our work plan for the next year as we build out the TPP. Councilmember Dokar.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Do you have a sense of how the state greenhouse gas emissions reduction will play into TPP projects coming up, TIP projects coming up over the next year or two? The policy.
Madam Chair, remember, you're referring to the one that kicks off in about February of 2025?
Okay.
It looks like Charles wants to answer.
Director, I was like, yeah, trying to fight Director Carlson.
I'd be happy to, Madam Chair. So for those less familiar with this, another piece of the transportation bill that funded a number of the projects that we see tonight also includes policy provisions around climate and greenhouse gas production and evaluation of certain types of projects. And the project thresholds, I think basically any one of the projects that were in tonight's amendment would be subject to the evaluation beginning in the future. So projects added to the TIP, so we're adding these projects to the TIP tonight. Projects added to the TIP after February 1st of 2025 would be subject to a evaluation process to analyze greenhouse gas emissions, and whether the contributions of these projects keep the program as a whole in alignment with long-term goals to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. So we're here in 2023. 2025 is a ways out. We're developing the process with MnDOT and other stakeholders that MnDOT has pulled together to actually come up with, what will it mean to conform? What does it mean to measure? How will we evaluate these projects on a consistent basis statewide? The first report of that group is due to the legislature February 1st, 2024, and then so we're in the process right now of doing that evaluation and beginning to prepare that report that MnDOT is assembling. Then we would be on the path toward implementing that and would apply it to any project, really in the future following that February 2025 start.
Councilmember Dokar.
Thank you. Could I do a follow-up? This is for clarification. I'm going to repeat back what I think I'm hearing is that starting February of 2025, any project that is included in TIP will be evaluated with the VMT reduction and greenhouse gas policy implementation. And so I can, as a council member, assume from now to about February of 2025, no new projects will be added onto this unless they were already in the waiting line for the projects. Is that safe to assume, or?
Madam Chair, council members, so any new trunk highway capacity expansion projects, including grade separations, is the threshold. So those are the projects that would be evaluated. Okay. There may be projects that come along between now and then that would not require that evaluation in order to be added. But any project after February 2025 would be subject to that analysis.
Okay. So as council members, we may potentially see projects that are currently not listed in TIP could show up that are actually expansion.
Madam Chair, council members, yes, many of the projects we've seen tonight were funded by the state legislature in the last year, including through the Corridors of Commerce process that MnDOT administers. So they are new expansion projects that were not previously on our radar, but now are being added.
Okay, thank you. Could I make a statement? Just as information, I've been working on transportation policy issues for a really long time, and there has been a long-term interest in preserving the existing road and paying for it before expansion. So some of that plays into people who are frustrated with expansion. The other part, this is more of a general information because I hold all of this information and I work with people, is groups that are frustrated with expansion. It's not necessarily because they don't want anything built out. It is because when they looked at emissions from the state, in a state like Minnesota, transportation is a large sector of that. And so unless we significantly increase public transit, where everybody has transit accessible to them, no matter where they are, and it becomes a viable option, or you have other modes, or you significantly reduce driving by like not traveling at all or taking the 30 minutes trip to come to a meeting, it means we have to figure out a different way of doing it. And so the policies around, thinking behind around greenhouse gas emissions reduction or VMT reduction of vehicles, miles travels, like they're all aimed at trying to figure it out and solving it together. I hope that helps, Councilmember Rento.
And I would just add, one of the things, a lot of the VMT and greenhouse gas stuff is supposed to be statewide, and a lot of the state is looking to the metro to fix it, because we can do buses and mass transit, but I think we have to look holistically across as we're planning, like it should be a shared thing. So, all right, that was a great conversation. So, with that, any other questions on the business item? All right, if not, then I'd entertain a motion to approve business item 2023-275.
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Morales. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Carter. Is there any other discussion? All right, seeing and hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. And the motion carries. And those two items have to go non-consent because we have to approve the TPP amendment as non-consent, and we can't do the other one before it. So only 6 so far for December 13th, but we expect more. So that's all right. We can't vote on the budget till 6 o'clock, so I'll just fill up the time. So, all right, with that, any other things for the evening? All right, then I will end with say, go Vikings, but don't do so well that I still can beat my sister in fantasy football tonight. All right, and with that, we are adjourned.
We could have had 3 info items.